And hello, welcome to a Fun Speculation Podcast. Yeah, this is FSP episode number 108. And this is week of July 4th. This is July 8th today, or week after July 4th weekend. And we all had I think, a pretty decent July 4th weekend. I hope everybody in the chat did and have been having a great time. It's been kind of like slow news the last couple weeks, or especially last week. But today we actually had some cool stuff announced. One Transformers thing, which when I saw this immediately, I thought this is more than meets the eye. There's definitely more to this with Transformers coming to Overwatch 2. All right, so we're going to talk about that and what possibilities that could bring. And then also, we got the Amazon Fire Stick, the Xbox app officially hit on Amazon's Fire Sticks today as well. So people have been able to get that tested out and see how it's working. And it seems like it's pretty good so far. So there's that. But yeah, I want to also say that this is awesome today because we've got a return of the Bob. Got Game Pass Dad.
I'm still alive.
Yeah, what's up, dude? How you been, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just been busy with stand up and kind of taking it easy on content for a while, but getting back into it and been playing a bunch of Elden Ring lately. Finally clicked on it. I just It's a lot of fun once you realize that I don't know, I had to do some research and then I just decided I was going to power level myself so I could get the hang of it. So I just cleared like Volcano Manor and I'm like level 140, which is just way higher than you need to be. But yeah, I've been having a good time with that.
That's how I would like to play it, is way over leveled, but that way it's easier. You're like the only Elden Ring guy really, and like that's kind of regular on our show. So
yeah,
you know, I haven't like I know Steel like dives in. But I don't think he's been playing Shadow of the Erdtree, and Pong beat Elden Ring, like he played through the regular game, I think, but like none of us really play it that much. So I'm curious overall, like, is this like DLC for you, like everything that you hoped it would be?
Well, I haven't actually gotten to the DLC yet. This is actually my first playthrough of the game in general, but I'll probably take on the DLC. It looks like it's pretty crazy, and that I've done some research on some of the adjustments that they made, so it seems like that was received pretty well. But I mean, it looks like it's more Elden Ring, so I don't think you can go wrong with that. But I'm getting to a point where FromSoft is just like one of my favorite publishers, really, if you think about it, because I've enjoyed Dark Souls games before. Like I played the first Dark Souls back in the day. I played the remaster, and I never beat it because I had to have my buddy like help me through it. But I enjoyed like the 30 to 40 hours of time that I spent with that game. And then as of last year, Armored Core 6, like I really liked that game. Like I beat that game like 3 times, like New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus. I'm like halfway through, so 2.5 times, I guess. And then way back in the day, Chrome Hounds was one of my favorite games of all time too. That was gone too quickly, but I've really been a fan of FromSoft for a while, so I'm glad it finally clicked for me because I really wanted to enjoy Elden Ring, but anytime I tried to like go to like Stormvale Castle or explore past Limgrave, I was just getting my shit handed to me. So I had to go back to the drawing board and
I
figure
like it
things out
in the open world, but when you get to the castles, it feels more like a traditional Souls-like or Souls game.
Exactly.
Well, Souls game, not Souls, like, because it is a Souls game. But like it just kind of gets that old feel where you're really hamstrung on what you can do and where you can go. So. And I keep getting my ass kicked in the castles, so that's where I'm like, I'm not as into it there. But like, I like the open world Elden Ring. So,
dude, just the fact that it's like such a big world that you can just so easily like get to different areas like rather seamlessly. And if you see anything, like the game is beautiful, even with like the dated graphics at this point. Like the game is beautiful. Anything you see, you can go to. And once you get the hang of it, I feel like it does involve like an investment on actually understanding the game if you want to really like progress in it. And partially, I think the way that I originally started my character playthrough as like a rush against my buddy Raph, like I just picked up where I left off with that one, so I was kind of lost on the story. Like the game doesn't hold your hand at all as far as like interacting. Like you really have to interact with the characters if you want to progress the game and pay attention, because you can't go back to your menus or a notebook or even a journal to like figure out what's going on. Like there's a lot of quest lines you can miss, but more or less you can beat the game just by going through, finding the bosses and getting through them. But that was the hang up for me. But once I realized that, and the fact that I don't mind like going to look up guides if I get completely lost, like it's a game that required homework, but I've really been enjoying it, and it's just fun to catch all the items like they're Pokemon and just become pretty powerful. I finally had a real challenge with Riker, though. It took me like 20 tries to get through him, but as soon as I realized I needed to upgrade my gear, I think I cleared him in less than 5 tries, so that was pretty cool. So it's been a lot of fun.
What it is, go back and power level a little bit. And,
yeah. Well, that was the thing, is I got myself like to level 100 and then was just like cruising through everything, and then like power leveling a little bit more until it was like actually hard to even necessarily power level. It takes me like 15 or 150,000 runes per level at this point. So now I'm like, yes, it feels like South Park when they power level to defeat that character, where they're at the end, they're just like, what do we do now? It's like, oh, we play the game. So it's been fun, but it's good to be back. Good to be talking to you guys on a Monday. I've been busy on Fridays, so I definitely need to try and be more intentional about stopping in on Mondays. And thank you for having me as always.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you here. It's good to have you back. How are you doing, Fuzz? You've just been living in that First Descendant world.
Pretty much. Been having fun with it. Yeah, for the most part, I'm still playing a lot of my other games in rotation. Still playing Undisputed, Forza Horizon 5, GT7. For a little bit there, I was revisiting even Division 2, because they removed the whole Warlords of New York roadblock for level 40. And just before this came out, I was like, all right, I got everything I need for my 4th character the way I want. Trying to get the clothing rewards or the apparel rewards that they have for the week and stuff. Then First Descendant came out, and I was like, oh, let me give this a try. It's free to play. What could it hurt? I think I'm now somewhere in the 30-hour plus range now. One character to level 40, my second one to 25, and still getting used to how Bunny works. A lot faster. It's kind of like the smaller, I guess you could say, suit for Anthem, where you would basically fly or move a lot faster and shoot and move kind of thing. So I'll get used to that here pretty quick. But loving the game. Haven't spent a dime yet, but I'll probably wind up picking up the season pass. I think I'm like level 10 or something in the season pass, so I need to start collecting those rewards in some sort of way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun game. I know we'll probably get into it as far as like people hating on it for whatever reason. No one said it's a Destiny killer, but you would swear somebody said that and eating somebody's Cheerios for the way the hate is going around on that game. Because man,
I
don't know.
I mean, the player count's strong, so like the people are playing it and digging it. As long as that's a thing, then I think, regardless of what people say, it's got its fans, right? So, I've been enjoying it too, Fuzz. Like I haven't played as much as you or Pong. I think I hit level 23 or 22 or 23 with the main character. I can't even remember her name. It starts with a V. Oh. It's the ice girl, But I've been playing mainly as hers, and I've dabbled a little bit with Bunny as well. And overall, just having fun, man. Learning the systems kind of at my own pace, dive in, do quick missions here and there. And I don't really feel like there's any. It's one of these games I don't feel like there's any reason that I can't just play at my own pace or like casually how I want to, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't feel like there's this pressure to like I gotta devote 3 or 4 hours to this, or otherwise I'm not accomplishing anything. Or like I don't feel like there's not a reason to dive in if I only have 20 minutes. I feel like, okay, I can actually do a couple things here, have some fun, die back out, or maybe switch to a different game or whatever. And like, I really appreciate games like that, especially ones that are look as good and have good gameplay like First Descendant does. So maybe that's a different reason why I'm into it as opposed to other people. But it kind of is like that more casual experience of like a Destiny or like a Warframe or like a Anthem or whatever games people are into that are comparing it to, right? It feels kind of like more, hey, relaxed for me, right? And I know, but I know it can get hard and ridiculous as well because I've heard the stories. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. But that gives me something to look forward to and feel like I can work towards, right, at my own pace. So I'm really enjoying it for those reasons. And I played on my PC. I've played on my Xbox. I've played on cloud streaming from the console. Every way I've played has been pretty much flawless experience. So really, really digging the game. And other than that, yeah, I've just been playing like just random stuff, man. Just like game hopping, grazing. Halo. I've been playing some Halo Wars 2. Dove into some FC 24. I'm trying to remember every single thing. Like I was diving into Street Fighter, even to the Street Fighter Fighting Collection. There's probably like 10 games I'm just kind of gradually hopping between right now. And with First Descendant kind of being like the main one that I go and spend more time with. But yeah, man, it's been fun. There's a lot.
It's good to go through the backlog.
Yeah, it's kind of what I've been doing a little bit. And something else I tried last night was Lords of the Fallen. This is in Game Pass.
Oh,
yeah, I tried that.
What'd you think of that one?
I was playing it on my tablet with the cloud, with Game Pass Cloud. It's fucking amazing, dude. Like it was. I don't. They've done something to improve it. Because I'm not getting that pixelated, grainy effect anymore. Like it looks like a pretty, really clean image, right? But yeah, I was playing via the Game Pass app on my. I have a Samsung OLED tablet. It's like 12 something inch or whatever. And so I have a pillow in bed at night. I'll prop it there. We'll have a movie on the TV, and I'll have my controller, right? And I'm just playing games there, chilling there. And if I want to have the great sound, I have some Samsung earbuds I can use, or I just keep it on low.
I might have to revisit that one. I played it for like a sponsorship, so I got the game for free.
Right.
And like it was in pretty rough shape on PC when it came out. Like I got to the first like major boss and was just stuck there for like an hour.
So for me so far, it seemed like kind of overall, like graphically, it seemed like a little bit more better. I don't know, maybe better graphics than some of the Souls games, right? Maybe it's just the art style. It seems a little bit more, a little bit easier than the Souls games so far. But yeah, you're just kind of going through this linear open level. I played maybe like 30 minutes and at tops, just to kind of get a feel for what the game plays like. It's a Souls game for the most part, but it feels like a little bit more.
It does have some like interesting ideas and like interesting enemies and world and everything. Like I definitely wanted to like it, but the gameplay when I played was in rough shape, so I definitely need to revisit it and see if I enjoy it.
With the long stick, the pole arm or whatever, and just jab the enemies. And I had a lantern to see the other world or whatever you call it, and it's pretty cool. That's just what random one I dove into, but that's just what I've been doing, man. Just been diving into random games and checking them out like casually at night and stuff, and really having fun with that. And it's kind of like in preparation for this deluge of games we're about to get. I mean, there's so much shit like that I really want to play that's coming out this year. To casual experiences to like hardcore like game, I want to like devote time to this, and that I feel like I'm kind of just playing the waiting game right now for that. And
you don't want to get too deep into something that's going to take up your time when you got a whole bunch of games to play by the end of the year.
But like the trailer today, like that showed for something happened to me. I saw this trailer for the Transformers crossover of Overwatch, and I saw that, and I'm like, holy shit, am I about to be an Overwatch player? Because
pull out the bandwagon. No.
Like I was like, that was the coolest fucking Transformers thing I've seen since the 90s. And it's
that was pretty sick.
It's just like this little CG trailer from the Blizzard team for Overwatch 2 crossover content, but I'm watching that, I'm like,
dude,
this honestly, is badass. This can we get this as a show or something? Please?
Yeah, like the animation style of like the Overwatch like cinematics that they do with like in the Transformers universe would be so good. Like that alone, let alone like bringing like skins and stuff from Transformers.
Yeah, we got to include this trailer for Tidbits later, Fuzz.
Okay.
I need everybody to see this trailer, because if you're I'm a Transformers like geek going back to like the Gen 1. Like it was my favorite thing when I was a kid. It was my favorite toys. It was my favorite cartoon, favorite everything. And I feel like ever since Gen 1 Transformers and in that movie, the original animated movie, like Transformers has been done a disservice to. Ever since then, you're talking about the OG stuff. I mean, you have Beast Wars fans and stuff, you have, the original movies were pretty cool with the Shia LaBeouf and stuff and those. And I mean, I like Transformers in general, but still we have never recaptured the magic of like Gen 1 Transformers. And in video games, it's even been worse a disservice too. The best games we've gotten were the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, and that came out in the 360 era from High Moon Studios. But that didn't really get continued, and still that wasn't like a Gen 1 feeling era. I mean, none of those took place on Earth or anything like that, So like, I've been always craving like this amazing Transformers experience ever since I was younger, and they got this new animated movie coming out, and it's probably like the cringiest looking Transformers thing I think I've ever seen, man. I'm like, what the hell are they doing here? Can we just get like some cool shit again, please? Netflix had a show recently that wasn't that bad. It was kind of back to Gen 1 style, but it's still not all the way. And I saw this trailer, and it's not, I mean, it clearly is, different takes on the Transformers because they're fitting them in as Overwatch skins, right? But the vibe of the trailer, the essence, the feeling, the way the characters are, like that's what I want, man. That's what I want. And I know I'm going to play Overwatch. It's not going to be like, I'm just going to be a skin. You know what I mean? I know it's not going to be like that, but dude, that captured like a spirit for me, and I got to play it. But did you see that trailer, Fuzz?
Yeah. It kind of got me to the point where I might have to become an Overwatch player as well. Like Overwatch has never really been a thing for me, but after seeing like the Marvel, the Marvel version, I forget what it's called, like Marvel Heroes or something like that.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a copy of Overwatch. I was like, oh, I might give that a try.
Marvel Rising.
And now the Transformers, it's like Transformers is like a definite. Begrudgingly being, I never wanted to really try Overwatch. This is going to make me try Overwatch just to be a Transformer. Like that's enough of a lore to get me into that game, and see how it goes. And
it's a lot easier than making a whole new hero shooter,
right?
Yeah.
I'm just the style of the trailer. I mean, they just did a badass job on the trailer. As if you want to say, hey, a trailer is going to get you to actually try something that you didn't care about before, that's actually happened with this.
I just realized that Optimus Prime is Reinhardt.
Yeah. Yeah, Jasper told, because I'm not like super into the Overwatch lore. I mean, I've played Overwatch. When it originally came out, I played it more so. Jasper was breaking down who the characters were in the chat. So Optimus Prime is Reinhardt, Bumblebee is Bastion, RC is Ilari, and Megatron is Ramatra. So yeah, I'm not really like, I know Reinhardt and Bastion.
Yeah, some of those are relatively new characters.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar with Ilari or Ramatra, but man, I'm pumped to try it. Like, I know I'll just be a skin or whatever, but like,
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they price those skins, though, to be honest.
Yeah. Is it something you'll dive into, Bob?
I mean, it might get me back to Overwatch, but I mean, if it's like $25 a skin, like I can hard pass on that shit. Because like that's been one of the things with like just like because this is obviously happening because of Activision's relationship with like Transformers in the past, and like I just feel like now that they're under Microsoft, like I don't know, I hope that they just get a little bit more reasonable with their microtransactions because they're really shooting for whales lately with Halo and like some of the other games that it's just a little frustrating because it's like if you literally make it like $10 less, like make it $10 a skin, I would probably buy a whole bunch of them or just bring back the battle pass and Halo. I would buy every single one, but we've got what we got, so we'll see how we do moving forward because that's probably one of my only critiques about their current strategy. But also it's probably Activision Blizzard's choice still because they're still autonomous, so it's hard to say exactly how it'll go, but we'll see what those packages look like, and I can imagine it might be a pretty penny on that price tag unless Transformers fallen as far as we think it has.
Right. I think it'll probably be a decent price. Like on the free to play games like this, on the hero shooters, usually they're like $15 or more.
Yeah.
20, 25, like Fortnite for a skin that has no even difference in playability or anything. They'll do like $25 a lot of times or more for the whole pack that includes everything. And but like people just kind of gotten accustomed to paying for that stuff. Being that it's free to play, it's not like as egregious for me as like if it's like
right
a $70 game where they're charging $25-$30 per skin and stuff. But also when these crossover content things happen, it's not like the regular in-game stuff. So I kind of expect at some point little bits of premium on the licensed events and stuff. But like overall, like this is gonna get me to dive back in tomorrow. I'm gonna install Overwatch and I'll play it and see if I can't get into it. But I think this means a little bit more. Like I said, I think this is more than meets the eye. Is kind of why I wanted to bring this up because this is the second thing we've seen in like as little as like 2 weeks or so. Because was it last week? I think we had the listings show back up in the storefronts for Fall of Cybertron, Transformers Devastation, and also I think those are the two that were delisted before. I'm not sure, but those are shown back up in the storefront. Those are like 360 era Transformers games published by Activision, of course. And there was people were wondering, okay, what's going on? Like, these games have been relisted, so are these going to end up being part of the back compat program now in the future? Are they going to put these in Game Pass? This goes back to before when Hasbro was like pretty much saying, hey, we're willing to work a deal with Xbox or whoever to get these games back with the licensing. And there was some kind of talk about, does Activision still have the game files anymore? Or are they in a hard drive somewhere? Who knows? Like in all this other kind of conversations, they came out that they said, no, they have them.
Like the rumor that went out that they like deleted the source code.
Right.
They're like, who started this?
we have them, so and the Hasbro's like been willing to do a deal with them. And you see like the companies that they've been doing deals with, like Outright Games and these other game companies that are putting out a bunch of shitty Transformers games. It's like, why not get some good ones, right? There is a game coming called Transformers Reactivate from Splash Damage. Certain Affinity had worked on it at one point when it was called Transformers Rising. So that one is a new one that's going to come at some point. But I think what a lot of people missed when this news for the Overwatch crossover today is that, well, we just got confirmation that Activision Blizzard and Hasbro has been in communications about some kind of licensing. Because that's what it would have taken to get this crossover event done. Now, is it only limited to that? I highly doubt it, because we already talked about the other conversations that have been going on in place about the former games, right? And I think this could have actually started from that. They're like, okay, like what are we going to do here? Let's talk partnership, licensing. Okay, we're going to get these old games back, put them in Game Pass. Well, how about Overwatch? Let's do some kind of a crossover event for that. Like, why does it have to stop at Transformers with Hasbro? Why can't it go on to some other things? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you see, like I was telling you guys before, like why not like some other kind of GI Joe Call of Duty crossover or some other kind of things that they could have with some other properties or whatever. But I think all in all, this kind of leads credence to the fact that this has been a conversation with ABK and um and Hasbro at some point for licensing for obviously for this crossover event. With all the other stuff going on, that you would think that had to have been conversation about their other games.
Yeah.
And the other things. So we saw the evidence there with some of the games being relisted onto the storefront. Also, this isn't something that happens over a weekend. You know, like that trailer that they made, that takes a while to make something that badass. Like they had to spend some time on that. So this is a conversation that's been going on for at least a little while. And it's pretty interesting for me now to think about, like, I think these Transformers games are legitimately coming, right? And not only that, but there could be possibilities of more things going forward. Activision kind of getting back to their roots a little bit with licensing deals and all that kind of stuff, but also with companies like Hasbro would be pretty awesome. It wouldn't be new either, because in recent years they've done He-Man stuff. I don't even know who owns the Masters of the Universe. But Call of Duty, they've done deals with licensing for that. They've done deals with like celebrities, you know, like Snoop Dogg, Nicki Minaj, like just left and right licensing deals. But this one for me, because of Transformers and what they're doing here with Overwatch and also those other store listings, seems like there's more to it.
Yeah.
Is this Fuzzy? Do you think this crossover deal is evidence that they've probably worked out something?
Oh, most definitely. Like ever since we saw those tweets from Hasbro on Twitter a while back, we kind of figured something will probably come of it. And considering, like you said, you can't throw an animation like that together in, a week or two. It's like a couple of months more than likely. But I would have to believe, where there's smoke, there's fire. We're seeing games be relisted. Whether that means they're for those that already own a copy to be able to stream it in xCloud, or it's coming to Game Pass, whatever the case may be. I think there was something there just on that, and now to see this crossover, there's probably even more going on. I would love to see a GI Joe, Call of Duty crossover kind of thing. I know at some point there was like a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow deal. I think it was Fortnite that had it or something, but it'd be cool to see that type of stuff on a lot more games these days. And Call of Duty would be the perfect model for that. Transformers being for Overwatch. I mean, I hope they continue to do things along these lines. Even I don't know if they have to go to like Diablo and have like like a demon character from a movie or anything along those lines. But stuff like that is pretty cool. Whether it's a skin, but like Game Pass Dad was saying, hopefully they're reasonably priced. Last thing we need is $25-$30 skin or something. But I like the idea. I like the fact that there's probably more that we'll find out in Gamescom. And there's still more Activision games popping up. Like I think even Prototype showed up earlier today with the Game Pass discount and stuff. So they're definitely cooking up something. And the fact that they're quiet, but some of these things are kind of slipping through the cracks, tells me that, probably the Overwatch one was the low hanging fruit. I'm curious to see what they're holding close to the chest for the Gamescom showcase. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of surprise announcements that we have yet in store for Xbox this year. Things that we're not really expecting, and more so with like ABK side of like some of the library and things that they could be doing going forward, bringing games to console, maybe like that could have not happened before, like Warcraft, World of Warcraft would be one, things like that. There's been some people talking about some of that stuff, but you go back and listen to the interviews they had at BlizzCon last year, like Blizzard was already talking about these possibilities, right? So it's been some time, and what does that mean where they've been at with all of these things? I think for the ABK games coming into Game Pass, there's been a lot of more things potentially with maybe working on aspects of these games or something like that to get them to even look or play better than they have before. It would be why we haven't seen those yet. But yeah, just in general, Fuzz, like, this is a piece of that, right? Going an extra mile to get licensing for these games that had no licensing anymore, put them back in the storefront. I think this is evidence with this crossover event that that's something that probably has been worked on. Bob, am I crazy for thinking that, or it just seems like
No,
common sense to me? I don't know.
I definitely think a good starting point for basically leaning more into bringing back these games, or even just seeing more from like the Transformers franchise in general, like one of the best starting points is like one of your flagship titles. Like doing a crossover is going to definitely build hype behind it. And like it's been rumored for a long time that they're going to start bringing all these Activision titles into Game Pass. So it all just kind of makes sense when you see it. In my opinion, like that's the first thing I thought is like, oh, they're doing a Transformers crossover. Like, what else is coming next? Because you don't necessarily spend the money on a crossover like that unless you're like, because that's like how a lot of companies, like if they do a crossover with Fortnite, like that happens when there's like a movie coming out, or if there's an artist like promoting a record or things like that. Like it becomes like a promotional platform. So I definitely think that we're going to see more stuff from Transformers after this. And I think there's a very strong possibility that it's going to be like the older titles coming to Game Pass.
Yeah. I think a lot of surprises for sure. The curious thing is just when they're going to announce these things. You add it to that, like these back compat or these older games or just whatever games coming into Game Pass this year for sure, but also maybe like Jez said in his article recently, month by month, there's going to be a few of them. Maybe there's going to be like something about the games that makes them like, hey, not only is this game coming to Game Pass, but has FPS boost on it. It's in 4K, auto HDR. You can play with that also with all these other features that make these older games look better. But even these games that aren't even like, you can't buy Transformers Fall of Cybertron right now, right? And if you get a disc, I don't think it's back compat on the series consoles because there's no licensing for it. So the backwards compatibility program didn't even work. So they actually have to get licensing to even make the game a Series XS version. And if you're doing that, why not go out there and actually put some extra work into it to make it actually play better on these consoles? So for me, that is where my mind goes to, is like, is there more to a lot of these why we haven't seen them yet? So they're adding stuff to make them better. Something that I saw today also, like, maybe this is one that's coming to Game Pass sooner than later also, because the Prototype bundle has a Game Pass sale on it right now for Prototype 1 and 2, Prototype Biohazard Edition or whatever they call it. Regular $50, Game Pass sale, $14.99 right now. That's an Xbox first party game now, right? Like, these are things that are going to be, I think, either worked on or put into Game Pass or whatever, and add that to all the first party games, all the third party deals they have. Game ownership library coming as well to the Game Pass app in the future is something that they keep talking about. Now accessible also on something like an Amazon Fire Stick. The ecosystem keeps getting crazier and crazier, bro. And that's something that happened today, was the Fire Stick app officially launched, right? So if you do, again, the advertisement is like, hey, no console, don't worry, is what as Xbox said. But yeah, for $50 or whatever, you can go get a Fire Stick, plug it in, and people are reporting to have a pretty good experience on this. So people can be playing Call of Duty via the cloud in this way. And like I said, guys, I've been playing with cloud gaming more recently than before. They made some strides, dude.
Yeah,
they really have. I've not been one in the past to really enjoy that experience, but just recently, it's been a lot better. And it's like I don't mind playing that way, especially for like casual experience. If I want like hey, I'm gonna lock in and have the best experience possible, I'm not gonna play that way, right?
right.
But for a lot of people, man, like they just want to access these games and just kind of play games or whatever. They're not gonna necessarily care about that. If they're getting a good quality internet, if they have good quality internet, they're getting good quality gameplay and stuff. Mm-hmm. This Fire Stick thing is gonna be a solution for a lot of people that can't afford a gaming console. Period. So you can hook this up to any fucking TV. You don't gotta have a Samsung. You don't have to have LG. You don't have to have an OLED. You don't have to have anything fancy. You could have a 10-year-old piece of shit. As long as it's got an HDMI port on it, you can play brand new next generation games.
Right.
With the Fire Stick. $40-$50. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a good option to bridge that gap. Like I know like some more casual people in my life that have like asked me about like they have Samsung TVs and they've been using like the Samsung app to play games. Like they're not necessarily gamers, but they bought like Xbox controllers so they could play games on their Samsung TVs. So it's like it definitely is having an impact, I would say. But we just don't see it quite yet. And I do feel like this is the time where everything's finally coming to fruition. Like we have all the games in place. Call of Duty's coming to Game Pass. Like it's gonna start. Like there's gonna be some momentum building. Like if it's gonna start working, like over the next year and a half is when the time where we're gonna start seeing some movement forward. Especially if Xbox keeps delivering games that people want to play.
Yeah, sure, man. I see Steel saying that COD multiplayer won't work well with the cloud. Yeah, I don't think anybody diving in and playing that way is going to be anticipating having the best multiplayer experience. But like, I think there's a lot of casual players that just want to dive in and just play and don't really necessarily care. Also,
I played the Hot Wheels game on cloud on my TV like a couple months ago, like a month or two ago when I first got this new TV, and like I was surprised like how in a game like that I really didn't notice like anything that would keep me from continuing to play that way necessarily. So it has gotten better every time I've gone back to it, but I would probably agree that like anything that requires precision, like a shooter, like I probably might not enjoy that experience, but I guess we'll see if it ever gets to that point where it's like pretty much seamless.
Yeah, I think obviously for the hardcore and stuff, for people that really are trying to be competitive, it's not going to be
right.
Like, what the solution is going to be for a while, for at least a long time, right?
Yeah.
But in general, it's a solution for access to games, and like for the people that are going to be accessing that way, I don't feel like that's the audience that necessarily cares a whole lot about that anyway. Right? It's more or less just about like, hey, look at this game, I can play it. Cool. Like,
yeah, a more casual
before, you know?
Yeah. Like a more casual player isn't really gonna understand or be able to really tell that there's that much input lag, I would think.
It's not like, oh, I'm gonna replace my console with this, you know what I mean? So it's like new players or like new people that aren't really into these games or ecosystem be like, oh, okay, this is accessible for me now. I just gotta have a controller, and I gotta try the Game Pass trial or whatever, you know, for a month, whatever, or 7-day trial, whatever they give for you for free. Oh yeah, this is cool. I like this. Oh, there's all these different games here. Oh, Call of Duty's here. Cool. I'll try Call of Duty. Maybe they try multiplayer. Maybe they just play a single player. I don't know. But like, just overall, the access to the ecosystem is like the more so the selling point than any one game, you know. And I saw that like the Xbox advertising, they're kind of going on this with, you know, Fire Stick, Samsung TVs don't need a console. A lot of people don't like that for some reason, that they will say that kind of stuff. But for those players that don't have a console or don't really care to buy one, this is a good second option. And not only that, but for certain gamers that are only Switch players or only have a Nintendo, only play on PlayStation or whatever, it's another avenue too to access that ecosystem without even having to go buy the box. You know, so you think this is going to make some strides for accessibility with gamers, Fuzz?
Yeah, I think it will, for the fact that the low cost of entry is the biggest thing. Like, this isn't meant for everyone. This is meant as like a fallback option for an additional TV in the house or something to take on the road. It's more compact than taking a Series S with you and trying to hook it up to the TV at the hotel or something along those lines. Unless you're doing the X screen, but then again, not I don't think as many people purchase that, but that's another cool option that you have. But the fact that you can get casual players that either play phone games or have been playing other games on the apps that are on like Samsung TVs or even on like an LG and stuff, to be able to have this as an additional option for them to even try out stuff. Like, before they even step foot into a Best Buy or any store like a GameStop or something like that, to cough up 300 plus bucks for a console and a subscription, they could at least try it out. And if you're a multiplayer kind of person, chances are you already have the console or you have the PC in which to do so. So I wouldn't necessarily see it for that audience, but for the ones that are, like a lot of the Game Pass games that are in there, like the Still Wakes Deep or something like that. That's a good example of a horror game that I don't know if you want to spend the 14 or 20 some dollars for it full as far as the game itself, but or you don't want to necessarily buy the console for it, just at least try it out. It's a good game to just hop on, not have to worry about load screens or downloading it from the internet or anything like that. Or just be all right. You connect to the server, you're in the game, you can go ahead and start playing. And there's a lot of games like that on Game Pass where this would be that foot in the door for those players. But like I said, there's a lot of casual players that aren't console players, aren't really PC players. They're more of the mobile player, or if they're at a friend's house, they might play on a PlayStation or an Xbox if there's one there. But this is just like an additional entertainment source. Like, especially if you have like company coming over, there's already a lot of people that play like the Jackbox games that way. This would be another nice alternative to something like that.
Yeah, I think also with some of the family-friendly games, like the ABK games, are going to be adding in there. Some of the ones that are rumored to be coming in first is like the Crash Trilogy and maybe Spyro and stuff like that. Adding games like that to your portfolio on the most casual experiences, like, is going to help bolster those as well, because you have a lot of parents looking for a cheap way to entertain their kids, right? And like, okay, you got a Switch, right? This, you don't even have to buy a Switch. You can just hook this thing up to whatever TV as long as you got a good internet connection. I think that's going to be the number one thing that's going to hold things back potentially, is just the ability for people to have a good enough connection in a place where they can hook up to their TV, right? Now, a lot of us already have that, right? Because there's already people streaming on their TVs all the time, but it's like another level of connection to really have a great gaming experience. So you don't want to hook it up and have like tearing and pixelation or all that kind of stuff, right? But as long as it's like a solid experience, people are going to be, for the most part, happy. And that's the thing I've noticed the difference in, is sitting in the same place that I would have been trying this on and off for years, right? For some reason now, in just recent months, maybe in as little as last month, like, quality jump has been substantial for me in my home, right? Where I'm playing. And for me, that's like, if it's that quality, and it keeps improving from there, I think about what it could be like in like 3 years, 4 years from now. Because xCloud was how old? Like a couple years old now when it officially launched.
Yeah,
It was like 4 years.
I think it's like 5, maybe 6 years, because it was like 2 years after Game Pass launched in like 2017-ish. I think it was
Yeah,
like 2, maybe
November
3 years
14th,
later.
2019.
Okay, so 5, so almost 5, 4.5 years, 4.5 years,
Yeah.
right? So the jump from then to today, like, what's it going to be like in another 4 years? You know, I don't know.
Hey, they're probably making deals with Nvidia and learning or possibly using some of that tech or incorporating some of that tech in some sort of negotiation deal that you get some of the Microsoft games in the service without any issue. Like that was a big thing with third parties for Nvidia with the GeForce Now. Maybe the exchange is, hey, you share some of the tech as far as how they're able to get their streaming service to work so smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just the graphics card power that they have in the servers, or if it's some other secret sauce or something that they have going on, if they share that tech, that will definitely bring it up to par. Where, with the exception of the most sweaty of multiplayer games, you probably won't notice much of a difference from that point.
Yeah. It's true, man. We'll see how it keeps going, but I don't know. Like, I guess we'll find out how many new players there are going to be from this, or if it really takes off. If there's a lot of people accessing the app from Amazon or whatever, but even if it's just like a small percentage, like even if it's just like, hey, they got a few 100,000 new members or whatever, that's a substantial amount of money to be coming in per month, and it still establishes another growth spot, right? Another place to grow. And that is going to be, I think, a big thing for them. But plus also all the new hardware coming. I can't wait to see more on that. But it's interesting when we talk about growth and stuff because Matt Piscatella did his like monthly thing where he goes through and lists all the sales and all these kind of things for the market. Comparatively over to last year, which he noted that Zelda came out in May last year, right? So it had a super strong month, obviously. So that's going to sway the numbers. But year over year, May to May, console in general revenue from console hardware, meaning games sold, all that kind of stuff, is down 40% year over year. While mobile is up 16%, I think is what he said. Now, that's console's a much smaller piece of the pie. Mobile's a much bigger piece, right? So 16% growth there is still like outweighs the 40% in console for overall like video game spending and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting kind of seeing like overall the trends with that. Like again, console revenue is just consistently kind of not growing or up and down, whereas mobile gaming and other things are just kind of shooting through the roof constantly, right? But something else that stood out as well was Helldivers 2. I have to point this out. There's two H2 games. Hellblade 2, which is the Xbox's big release for May, didn't crack the top 20 in sales for games for May, which is, it's in Game Pass, so I don't know what you want to make of that, but that was still pretty interesting. The other thing was Helldivers 2 was number 1 for Steam and for PC, but didn't crack the top 10 for game time played for PlayStation. So for on console for PlayStation, people were playing Fortnite, Call of Duty, Roblox, FIFA or FC, whatever, Madden, all those games. There was 10 of them before you get to Helldivers 2, which wasn't on the top 10 list. But for PC, it was number 1. Which is pretty like interesting, right? For like PlayStation's big game of the year to have that much substantial, more healthy player base on PC than the console when it is PC is something they've been ignoring for forever. And I think more than anything, what that tells me is where some of the focus is going to be for these multiplayer games going forward from PlayStation. Like, if that many more people are playing it on PC, that's where they're going to be making their money. Games as service, this is something they needed to do. But if it's not going to be generating the revenue on their console side, like PC, how does this focus overall shift the entire mentality of PlayStation over time? Like, just think of it from a common sense perspective, right? Okay, we finally have games as service games. Okay, we finally have them. They're making this much money on PC. They're making this much money on console. Do you think that shifts their ideas for some of their other franchises and other games going forward, potentially with how they decide that they want to make money? You talk about day and date on PC is not going to be a thing for other games. Yeah, right. Start thinking about that kind of stuff, guys, because the proof's in the numbers. But yeah, Bob, I don't know if you saw Matt Piscatella's breakdowns or whatever. I mean, you can. It's just month to month comparisons for year over year, so there's not a whole lot to take from it. But
right,
those couple things I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, how can you have the PlayStation's biggest game they've had in years success wise be number one on PC, but not even top 10 in playtime on your own hardware?
Well, I think just that information alone tells you, like, most likely what a lot of what we could most likely expect from, like, Sony, or like the reasons why Microsoft is taking the steps that they're taking. Like, other platforms outside of console are becoming a lot more popular than they have been in like the last 20 years. So it makes it make a lot more sense that these companies that are required to make money at all costs, like, might want to not care so much about their brand identity tied to the console as much as making their games more accessible. So I feel like if you take those details and where people are playing the games or how they're selling, like, it explains a lot about why they're making the choices that they're making. And I feel like Sony can only hold the stakeholders back for so long before they say, hey, this game's still super popular. It's reached its threshold. Let's go ahead and sell it everywhere else that we can sell it, which would be PC, like, because that's as far as they'll go. But they want to collect that check on everything they can.
Yeah, 100%, man. In the chat, people are asking if the sales numbers for Hellblade. When I mentioned that, they asked if it included physical, because there's no physical copy of Hellblade 2, right? So if that was why. This is what I'm just going to read you what Matt Piscatella's thing says. May 2024, top 20 best-selling premium games in the U.S. Now, this was a down month in general. There wasn't a whole lot of big game releases in May. I remember that Sea of Thieves was like the number one game on PlayStation for a while or something during that time. Dollars physical and digital from digital data sharing publishers, excludes add-on content. So it says May 2024 US, this is in the US, top 20 best-selling games, physical and full game digital from the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation, Steam, and Xbox platforms for publishers in the digital leader panel, ranked on dollar sales. So I don't know if Xbox, because it's an Xbox published game, they don't share the digital sales data, but it wouldn't make sense because the other games are included in here from Xbox. So that argument wouldn't necessarily hold weight, but Hellblade 2 doesn't show up in the top 20. And that was a May release. So it was a later May release, so maybe it shows up in June, but I would still think as May not having that many big releases, like one of the few bigger marketed first party type games should have shown up, despite being in Game Pass. But yeah, number one was Ghost of Tsushima on PC. Then number two, you had Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door. You had number three was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Number four was Helldivers 2. Number 5 was MLB The Show. Then number 6 was Sea of Thieves, boosted by the being on PlayStation. Number 7 was Minecraft. Number 8 is Elden Ring. Number 9, Hogwarts Legacy. 10, Stellar Blade. 11, Fallout 4. 12, EA Sports FC 24. 13, Spider-Man 2. 14, Homeworld 3. 15 is Mario Kart 8. 16, Madden NFL 24. 17 was Rise of the Ronin. 18 was F1 24. 19 was Mortal Kombat 1. And number 20 was Dragon's Dogma 2. So it says includes physical and full game digital from the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation, Steam, and Xbox platforms for publishers in the digital leader panel ranked on dollar sales. Excludes add-on spending. Inclusion of digital sales data in the best-selling title charts is done at the discretion of the participating publisher. So for whatever reason, Hellblade 2 isn't on this list, right? But again, like I said, on the top, so there's a top best-selling games, premium games. Helldivers 2 was number 1 for just best-selling games. And I don't understand the difference in this. So top 20 best-selling premium games, US. Oh, that's year-to-date. Okay, year-to-date was Helldivers 2 is still number 1. And then we have top 10 titles played on PlayStation 5. Fortnite, Call of Duty. It says Call of Duty Headquarters because that's the launcher, right? So Fortnite, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto 5, NBA 2K24, X-Defiant, Roblox, Madden NFL 24, Fallout 4, Minecraft, and Multiverses. So
none of their games are on there.
Not one. You have
even Destiny.
You have three. You have 3 Xbox-owned franchises in their top 10 most played on PlayStation. So on a PS5, there's 3 franchises being played more than any PlayStation game, including their only successful live service online game, which is Helldivers 2. So yeah, Fallout.
Show the PC crowd carries it.
Fallout 4, Call of Duty, and Minecraft, all 3 show up in the top 10 for PlayStation, and not one PlayStation-owned franchise. Being reliant on third party much, right? But on PC, you have Helldivers 2 as number 1. On Xbox, you have Fortnite, Call of Duty, Roblox, Minecraft, GTA 5, X-Defiant, NBA 2K24, Fallout 4, Rainbow Six, and Madden are the top 10. And PCs, Helldivers 2, Counter-Strike 2. Counter-Strike, bro. The number 2 most played game still on PC after...
How old is that thing?
Fuck, man. I don't know.
14 years or more?
How old is Counter-Strike now? It's been, it's since the 360 days.
Yeah, they updated the Counter-Strike 2, but I mean, there's 694,000 people playing right now.
It's just insane, dude. How many people are playing Helldivers right now? I think it had a huge falling off.
34.
Okay. So it's gonna you have a huge fall off even on PC. Helldivers 2 is number 1 for May on PC. Counter-Strike 2, Fallout 4. Fallout 4, man. After that Fallout show, it hit like every fucking list for May. Fallout 4, Destiny 2, Baldur's Gate 3, V Rising, Rocket League, Hades 2, Elden Ring, and Gray Zone Warfare. I've never even heard of Gray Zone Warfare.
It's like the extraction shooter that's trying to be like Escape from Tarkov, but not exactly. It's like a Vietnam setting kind of in the jungle, but not Vietnam times, but that region, but like modern day.
Yeah.
And you have to, go in, extract, or find evidence or weapons caches, things like that. It's not bad, but the biggest complaint has been that some people get stuck after a certain level. Like doing some of those missions is you have to have a squad or a crew to go with, get some of those missions done type of thing.
Yeah, it's still in early access, but I think it has a lot of potential because Tarkov really kind of screwed over its fan base quite a bit with their making everyone who bought the edition that's supposed to mean everything in the future is free, rebuy the top tier stuff just so they can play offline and not play against cheaters. So really kind of screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't buy that. Was it the End of Darkness or something?
Yeah, it's like Into Darkness or Enter Darkness, something like that. The Darkness edition.
Sons, I bought it for my two sons. Well, no, I bought the game for my two sons. They bought the upgrade, and I was about to do it just before they were going to delist it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait because I'd rather just play the single player or the offline. And I would have been screwed if I did that. I would have spent like $90 or more or $100 and some odd dollars. And oh yeah, you got to spend another $100. What?
Yeah. I've enjoyed Tarkov in the past, but I mean, I don't know if I ever really want to mess with it again. If the developers double dipping on their biggest fans, like it might not be worth the investment.
So Chris Coleman said in the chat that that's not the same as prioritizing the PC or making it a focus. Ghost took 4 years. Only games of service is day one on PC. Console players are the priority, and then PC comes later. That's not a new strategy. I don't know if you misinterpreted what I said before, but what I was saying was, what does this do for the future of their thinking? Like seeing the results of this, having your games of service game for a long stretch be your number one moneymaker on PC over not even cracking the top 10 on console for game time played. Like over time, if this happens again with Marathon, if this happens again with Fair Games, right? If this happens again with Concord, right? These games of service games, if they maintain big player bases and making money long term, while your console player base decides they're not interested in these games long term, and you are making a recurring revenue, which is what they've wanted to do using games of service, and more of your money is coming from PC, from your own first party portfolio, what does that do over time to the structure and the thinking of the decisions you make going forward? And you cannot tell me that does not have an impact or have an effect. If you're making a certain amount of money from an audience and not making it from another audience, you're starting to try and think of, how do we reach this other audience more? It's just common sense thinking from a business perspective. And this is the way that they've needed to go for a long time. And this is just evidence that this potential, that this is where we're seeing things go with PlayStation, with like their whole games of service ideas and all this other kind of stuff. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying that long term, you might see more of their franchises go to PC day and date, because the numbers will dictate so. Like the money speaks to the businesses, right? If your console players aren't spending as much money as the PC players, what do you do? Right? And over time, I think we're going to see an adjustment. Now, it's not to say that the console's doing bad. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But in general, also, we saw the trend in May. Just in general, console spending, May one year to the next, is down 40%. Again, those kind of metrics across the entire gaming industry also have an impact on the decisions that you make with where to bring your games. Over time, this is what's happening in the industry. This is why you're seeing publishers go more multi-platform. This is why you're seeing platform holders decide to make decisions to put games other places and to do all these other kind of things, because this is where the industry is going. It's going to more access. We need more places to reach and play these games. And I don't think Sony expected Helldivers 2 to be this successful on PC. But what we talked about before Helldivers 2 launched was that I hope it was a crazy success, because it would show them a lesson to respect the gamers and those audiences as well, and to not just think of it as like some other place, right? And why not put games there day and date? Why not? I know some PlayStation guys hate the thought of that, but you know what? Why not? Look at Ghost of Tsushima was a top selling game in May across all of them. Launched on because of its PC launch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know like if it did that when it launched on console originally. And it's a great game. I love it. It's one of my favorite PlayStation games, but like I would have to go back and look. But this thing was a massive success launching on PC. And then the previous month was Helldivers 2. And because of PC. You can't tell me over time that doesn't have an impact to their thinking on where to put their games day and date. So
because you have to spend marketing money twice, why not just do it all in one shoot? You make all the money for less costs out the back. Because if you have to market it this year and then again next year or 2 years from now, you're spending that same marketing dollars twice. But if you do it all in one shooting, you make all the money in a much shorter time, which helps them recoup the cost of making the game, which, as they've even shown through the leaked documents, are getting out of control. I mean, it's an across the industry thing, but when Spider-Man goes from like, what was it, 95 million to 200 some odd million to possibly 300 some odd million. Yeah, it's time for them to kind of get that return on their investment sooner, as opposed to splitting it up, marketing it a couple of times apart. Like, I think the big thing now is it's not as much that they don't want to put things on PC day and date. They don't have the ability to do it unless the games starting from today or yesterday are being built that way from the ground up, which I think they are making that move now. But the way they're doing it currently, and this is why there's such a gap, is because Nixus is only but so big. So they can only pick and choose which game. Like, we just had Ragnarok, we just had Ghost of Tsushima, or maybe it's the other way around. But the next one I'm hoping is GT7 coming to PC. To me, that would be a golden opportunity to rival
I would play that.
some racing sims that are known for being great racing sims on PC. Like, instead of people using, was it D2 still or Assetto Corsa, imagine the money they'll make off of Gran Turismo as a PC modded engine game for that. Like, that could be 10 years of revenue for them just from that. So I don't know. I think Hiroki Totoki said it best when he was like, hey, you guys make great games, but you don't know anything about business or how to make money. And he's going to fix that. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, they've done well. And here's for the console, for people that think the console is where it matters most for these PlayStation games, right? Where their own first party games are what matters, right? Here's the top selling games for May for PlayStation in May, for premium games. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Xbox franchise, 6-month-old game by that point. Modern Warfare 3, number one still selling game on PlayStation in May. Number 2 was MLB The Show 24. Number 3, Sea of Thieves. Another Xbox game. Number 4, you had Stellar Blade. Number 5, you had Helldivers 2. Number 6, you had Spider-Man 2. Number 7, you had Minecraft. Number 8, you had Rise of the Ronin. Number 9, you had Elden Ring. And number 10, you had Madden NFL 24. So Sony had a good showing with MLB The Show, Stellar Blade, and Helldivers 2, and Spider-Man 2, all cracking the top 6. But it's funny that still in the top 10 of sales on PlayStation console, you have Modern Warfare 3, Sea of Thieves, and Minecraft. Again, 3 now Xbox-owned franchises. So it's like an infiltration from Microsoft into. You want to talk dependency? Like, let's see, Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2, MLB The Show. Those were all newer games, right? Newer games that had just more recently come out. Minecraft and Call of Duty those are just always there. Every month, you can look at any month for top 10 and you'll see like those there, right? But then now you add Sea of Thieves. I think it's going to be a staying power in that list as well. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Xbox's top 10 premium games: Call of Duty, Minecraft, Elden Ring, FC24, Hogwarts Legacy, F124, Forza Horizon 5. Actually, surprised to see that cracking the top 10 at number 7 for game sales. Still, after all this time, Forza Horizon 5 on Xbox hardware. It's almost a year, going on almost a year old, or a year, or 2 years old.
A couple of years.
Yeah. A year and a half, over a year and a half old by that point. Fallout 4, again, and Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 making an appearance, and then Mortal Kombat 1. I don't even care about Nintendo's. It's just Nintendo. They're the only ones really with like first party is like just their own games that just dominate the list, right? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see in the second half too. Month after month, you're going to see this.
Yeah, and they've made themselves unique enough to where they don't really have to worry about changing their strategy to keep selling games, and that's the big difference. Like, pretty much the difference between a PlayStation and an Xbox these days is really negligible, and at the same time that dips into adjacent to the PC culture as well, where a lot of people who do own a console also have a PC, and I think a lot of people who've invested a lot of money into their PC probably prefer to play a lot of their games on PC. Because I just looked at like the concurrent players in the last 24 hours on like Steam database. Like, there was 5 million players in the top 10 games in the last 24 hours. Like, that Sony looks at those numbers and the sales numbers for games like Helldivers. So I do feel that, especially if they're having trouble making money, like that's one very clear pathway that I'm sure they pay attention to. And just, we all know how business works. And if you have an understanding of what you do when you need to make more money, is like you start to look at doing things that you don't normally do. And I feel like there's a lot of people that would prefer, especially if Sony's up front with their requirements for connecting to their network for multiplayer games and things like that. Like, that was a definite fumble with Helldivers and other games, because it does seem like they want to make sure they get that extra data and connection to their customers. But it seems like a no-brainer at this point that they need to potentially open it up. If they do continue to struggle, like maybe all of a sudden they come out of nowhere with some huge games in the next year or so. I don't know where they're at, but maybe they turn things around. They might not have to do that, but I guarantee that there's a lot of executives that look at that size of the market that they already have access to. They have the data from all these games: God of War, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Helldivers, Horizon. Like, all these games are on Steam, and like, if they're making extra money there, then you better believe it's going to become a priority for them to a certain extent, whether it's essentially like maybe not every day and date, but definitely seeing all those big games coming out within a year. Like, it'd be stupid for them to leave that on the table long term, and I don't think stakeholders will allow them not to tap into it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the idea of just like the only reason you feel like you have to have a PlayStation is because of the artificial gatekeeping of making games not on PC right away.
Right.
Like that, and I don't think that's true. I feel like you look at the list of the most played games there, it's games that are everywhere.
Right.
You know, like we went through the top 10 list. There wasn't a PlayStation fucking game there.
Yeah, it's like Apex and Fortnite.
Like, to think that all those people that are just playing Call of Duty and Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox and all this other shit are all of a sudden decide that they don't want consoles anymore.
Right.
Like it's just kind of it's asinine thought process to me. Like console players like playing on console. That's why they have a console.
Right.
Like, and PlayStation's just kind of become the de facto console to own for the Call of Duty players, for all these other players. That's what Microsoft's trying to change to some extent.
Right.
Right. And they're not trying to change it just by like buying those companies. They're trying to change it by access points, make it to where people can access their games everywhere. But so like make PlayStation less relevant because it's just another place to play. And if the only thing is special about PlayStation is those single player first party exclusive games, well, let me tell you, you're going to be having to wait for the special times because there's not very much of that coming for years, right? There's very little coming for years. If that's all that's there, that's all that they're telling you that matters, which is what I've listened to their business thing. Like, that's what they said. They said, like, oh, the console is still the most important thing for what PlayStation's always been about are single-player action, adventure, third-person, narrative-based games, our award-winning game. First off, it's a fucking lie. They haven't always been about that. That started late in the PS3 generation, right? Secondly, if that's what they're all about, then where are all those games?
Yeah.
Right? They have all these games and service games in development that are coming sooner than those other games. And those are all going to be on PC day and date. So don't tell people you're about one thing and you're consistently doing another. That's the same thing they did with the start of this generation. Hey, look over here. We believe in generations. Oh, we're putting everything on both generations. You know, this is the truth, right?
They keep saying one thing and then doing the other
because they're selling the idea
and letting Microsoft take the heat for it.
Right. Because they're selling the idea that the PlayStation, that the console user is special, right?
Yeah.
They're coddling and catering to the sensitive needs of these people that can't dare to feel less special by somebody else getting their experience, right?
Well, and they know that console players, like they know their customers are very loyal to their brand and they've invested in it, but at the same time, like consoles are all about value, in my opinion. That's the really big selling point. Like that's why it is so popular with those people that play all the games that are on everything, is because the system that provides the most value is going to be the one that in theory sells more. But at this point, PlayStation's not adding that extra intrinsic value necessarily of having these games that are like the stellar AAA titles, the narrative experiences, like they're becoming more few and far between. And then you can also play them on PC eventually, which I mean, none of those games really have made me want to get up and go out and buy a PlayStation, because I would if there was a game that was so good that I had to have it, but there hasn't really been any experiences like that I've needed to have. But at the same time, underneath Jim Ryan, they've gotten themselves into a situation that I like to think back on, which is like Xbox's main problem going into the Xbox One generation. We've literally seen like a case study of this when Xbox got too reliant at the end of the Xbox 360 generation on third-party titles and stopped bringing their own unique experiences and became less valuable and completely fumbled the whole DRM conversation, like their communication with their fans, and they tried to dictate the market instead of providing the consumers what they wanted. Like that's when everyone, like a large group of their consumers, just moved over to PlayStation because PlayStation was providing that value. But literally underneath Jim Ryan, they've shut down their studios. They've limited like their big first party titles, and they're very reliant right now on those big multi-platform titles. Like the reason why they fought so hard against Xbox and the acquisition of Activision Blizzard is they knew it was going to be potentially a big hit for them. So like we literally have seen it before and it's happening again. Like, and it's going to be very hard for them to weather this storm. Like it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, and there's potentially going to be a shift in the market, and that's just the way things work.
Yeah, 100%. It's not dictated on console hardware sales. That's not.
Yeah, we don't go on feels here. Like people are cheap. Like money's getting tighter. Like whoever's providing the most value is going to potentially, like if you're going to bet on it, like they're going to have the best odds to win out. You know.
Yeah, who's making more money? The company that has their own games as the top 10 on their side, plus also 3 of the top 10 games on the other side.
Yeah.
Or the company that had to make deals to get exclusive games to be on their side to show up in the top 10 list for third-party content. You know, it's like you got to think about what the payoff and the trade-off is on all these things. Like all those properties that we listed before when we're talking about actual premium game sales from the Xbox side, those are properties that they own. Right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the same on the other side. And that's something that's going to be the reliance on third party. You're right. It bit Xbox in the ass before, you know, and we've already seen this generation, those third party partnerships starting to crumble for PlayStation, where they could count on these kind of things, adding to the special feeling of the platform because they were inherent exclusives. Square Enix games, Atlas games, Sega games like Yakuza's and all those. It used to be games that would only show up on PlayStation, right? You would have games like the Mana series, or like Persona, or and like I mentioned before, Yakuza, like these franchises that had become synonymous with, hey, you can only find those on PlayStation, right? That's gone now. Going forward, and Final Fantasy is the next one.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
They're still getting through those deals that they have already had in place. But let me tell you, once those deals are done, the Final Fantasy exclusivity deals with PlayStation will be over. The Final Fantasy will be everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Which it might be a little bit too little too late for those older games that have been out for a while to have an impact on Xbox. But I doubt Square Enix is going to allow itself, like a lot of these third-party companies, like I doubt that they're going to be excited to limit their exposure to just one console when there's other ecosystems to be a part of.
Yeah. When was the next big PlayStation single-player game slated for?
I think,
second
or third quarter 2025.
Which one is that?
My guess is it's Wolverine.
No, that one was 2026. They said.
Oh, jeez. Are they still doing Venom?
That was part of the Insomniac. I remember beforehand, PlayStation said that they said they didn't have a big first party tentpole franchise game until after like first quarter of 2025, right?
Yeah.
But then Wolverine was rumored for 2026. So I don't.
You mean Spider-Wolf? No.
Yeah, I don't know what the 2025 game will be. I'm sure we'll probably hopefully get an announcement for that. But like this is stuff that Xbox got slammed for before.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely crucified across the industry. Became a thing. Like Xbox has no games. Xbox has third-party games didn't matter. Exclusivity deals didn't matter. Second-party games didn't matter. Xbox has no games. They had no games. That's what everybody was saying forever. All of a sudden, you have PlayStation in this situation, and it's like, yeah, it's business.
Who needs first party?
Yeah. Nobody. Yeah, it's just games are games, right? Less is more from first party. You just rather them take their time and focus. One a year, plenty good for me, right? It's just interesting how crazy the conversations sway and change. Where you see, but it's all the reason this is happening. The reason why we're in this situation is not because of some kind of cycle, as I saw somebody in the chat saying. It's because they changed their philosophy on what kind of games they wanted to make.
Yeah.
They went and acquired all these different studios. They put their other game studios on these other kind of projects and stuff. And they've been making games of service games. They wasted a shit ton of time and money by canceling like half of them. Right? And then they left what they have left. And we haven't seen a lot of them yet. But Helldivers 2 was a success. That was supposed to be one of their smaller experiences that they weren't actually expecting a lot from. It was one that we were actually applauding and hoping was going to be great, because I love the first Helldivers and I love the Helldivers 2 as well. But even the PlayStation community wasn't really super cheering on or embracing this game at launch. And since then, it did well and sold well on PlayStation, but people aren't playing it. Not like the other games, not like the other multiplayer games. It's not even showing up on the top 10 most played games list 2 months after it released, where it was number 1 on PC. So, like, I don't think the community for PlayStation is really embracing this whole new multiplayer-focused future. And I think that's led PlayStation to potentially be like, oh, shit, what are we doing here? Let's tell everybody that we're still about the single-player games while we figure out when we can get them out. Right?
I mean, they already have, their players already have plenty of multiplayer games that are your Apex Legends, your War Zones, your free to play games, like even Destiny. But it didn't chart, but there's still a dedicated fan base that plays those. So I'm trying to think of new, not free to play, but like games as a service is going to be a difficult road for them, just for the fact that they spent, was it like anywhere from 5 to 7 years working on factions, because it was originally supposed to be with, The Last of Us 2, and then they said, no, we're going to split that apart and it'll be its own thing. And they wasted all those resources, wound up canceling it, whether it's because Bungie said, oh, this is crap, skip it. But then, they green lighted, Concord type of deal. But we'll see how well Concord does. Yeah. But their fan base didn't care for Destruction All Stars, nor did it care for Foam Stars. But there was also rumors that there was going to be a Twisted Metal. They canceled that. I think that would have had some legs to it. Spider-Verse thing, I think would have had longer legs than just about anything else that they were cooking.
Yeah, that looked cool, actually.
Just the Marvel license would, although they would have to share the cut, I think that in itself would have probably done well enough. Like, look at how well Spider-Man skins do in other games. Like, I think they even had Spider-Man in Fortnite, and it was one of their biggest selling skins. So
yeah.
I don't know what they're doing as far as trying to chase this money with games as a service, when it seemed like they had easy winners in factions, easy winners in the Spider-Verse, or even bringing back old IP like Twisted Metal, while they had the TV series. Like, look at Fallout. Fallout is still charting on PlayStation, and the series wrapped up, a month and a half ago now?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Did you enjoy the Twisted Metal TV series? I couldn't really get into it.
I've yet to watch it because I think I was on the brink of getting ready to watch it, and then I heard they canceled the game, and it's like I don't want to torture myself right now, because it's like I would see the series and then I'd be like, man, I feel like playing Twisted Metal, and I don't know if I still have my discs for my PS3. Besides that, I gave my PS3 to one of my sons to play, NCAA 14 or something like that. But yeah, they're good at one thing when it comes to these, single player, third person perspective, narrative driven games. But outside of that, they gotta get on the ball and figure out other revenue streams, because the cost to make those games that they're really good at cost so much, to the point where are they actually turning a profit?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think PlayStation for a long time is still going to be in the hardware business, because that's where a lot of the gamers are going to play, and it's a de facto console to own. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't see their games be more accessible other places. I think that's just something that the industry is doing, and I think the numbers that they see are going to dictate it. And that's pretty much the whole point of what I was bringing up with those numbers. It just seems like, for me, if I was looking at it from the business perspective, like, why am I not putting these other games on PlayStation when they release? Like, I mean on PC. And
go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's just going to be something we see happen over time. It isn't necessarily going to happen right away with the next one or whatever, but each one of these games is going to add to that and add to it, and they'll see the amount of money being made different places, and they'll still sell their hardware for another generation or two. And for the console players and the console enthusiasts that want to own a console, the casual players that just want to buy a box and play COD or play whatever, right? But that market is just going to still get smaller and smaller over time. So
yeah, well,
it just makes
and
sense.
they are the ones that always hold off on like the overall innovation of like things like crossplay between like with Fortnite. Like they were the last ones to hold out until basically the entire consumer base was just like, all these other like consoles let us play with our friends. Like let's just get rid of this antiquated system that doesn't really matter anymore. Like they were the last ones to really hold back on that, and now it's an industry standard. And I feel like um things like Game Pass and releasing your titles and multiple platforms is just a way things are going in the future. And
Yeah.
it's different, but things change over time. Like technology's allowed us to get to that point where these boxes aren't all that unique, or like technology doesn't exist to allow us to do these things. So um they're gonna do that because there's money to be made doing it. And like they I feel like they took their gamble on thinking that they had a, enough control over the market to really dictate things, and they doubled down on their hardware with like PSVR 2 and like the PlayStation Portal. But comparatively, like we always know that the software sales are what their big money maker is. And like as far like they're bringing compatibility for the PSVR 2 to PC, like they wouldn't be doing that if it was doing well.
Right.
So it's just like that's what you can read in the tea leaves of what their actions are. Like it seems like that's what's going to happen.
I see a comment in the chat. It says from Eclipse Bino, says the difference between Microsoft and Sony is that Microsoft doesn't depend on hardware sales because it's a software company. Yeah, and that's been a thing for a long time. And ultimately Microsoft is basically a software services company, right? Content and service, software and services, and they have hardware as well. But their main thing now is in subscriptions, right? And that's kind of where they've gone to. So that's why you've seen the gaming shift to that. But what people aren't realizing is that Sony's becoming less and less of a hardware company over time. In this last like decade and even going forward, and all you got to do is listen to their business thing. They said this themselves, that before you saw us innovating more in hardware, we were a hardware company. We're a make the latest greatest technology of hardware, and that's what we were selling, and that that's what they're pushing. Now they said they're an entertainment company, pretty much. They're making music, they're making movies, they're making games, they're making the most of their money is being made on entertainment properties and the content. And they're pretty much a content company now. Now they still make hardware, but you look at the successful businesses that they're running is in the content areas. It's in these places, right? And over time, that's been dramatically shifting. And that's what they talked about during their business thing. And they've been investing in these franchises, they've been investing in these IPs, and they've talked about now's their time for returns.
Yeah.
Now's their time for returns on these properties and these IPs. So as they continue to shift more into an entertainment company, as their primary way of making money is on content, it makes most sense to have your content in as many places as possible for people to buy, not gate kept to a specific place that you're hoping that these people buy a box to buy it from. Now, if your focus is to sell the box, right? Then that's where, okay, we got to make the box as special as possible, right? So you're weighing this. It's like, okay, now, it's cost this much to make this game. It's going to help advertise and sell this box. What's the returns going to be? Is by selling that enough of these boxes going to create enough return from the sales on third-party content in the storefront and also these other things? Is this going to be what risk versus reward, or does it make more sense to sell slightly less of the box and sell a lot more day and date because we're launching our games in more places, like on PC at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And over time, that's what I'm saying, the numbers are going to dictate this, and it's not rocket science if you already have a shrinking hardware business in general, which is happening, right? If you already have a shrinking things, people buying less games, people are buying less hardware and all these other kind of things anyway. it makes most sense. You would think, hey, let's go this route. And I think it's just time, and it's going to be a transitional thing, right? But everybody acting like PlayStation's going to be this like standard of console. We're going to make sure everybody understands the console is the most important thing in gaming forever. People that acting like that's going to be the future of gaming is like, I'm telling you guys, like, it's not going to happen that way, you know? And I think what PlayStation's been good at though, is they've been late to the party in a lot of the innovation and services and content services and stuff like that. They've been late to the party with that, but they wait for the industry to accept it before they dive in, right? Where Microsoft is like carving that path and meets the most resistance. In numerous ways, they did it before with Ethernet. You know, Xbox Live was a subscription for multiplayer gaming. They met resistance there at first and some backlash. You know, like whenever they're carving these paths, they meet resistance. It happened with DRM because they didn't have answers for that. They didn't know how to talk about it or anything, and they reversed course, right? And then PlayStation's always later. Xbox has met nothing but from games media and the industry resistance about the subscription model for Game Pass and how they're doing things. Like, oh, it's unsustainable. Oh, it's not profitable. Oh, how can they run this business? Meanwhile, their numbers like, oh, hey, our content and services revenue and profits actually up. Our hardware's down, right? Content services up, revenue up, hardware down. It's like pretty much consistent over the last several years now for Xbox, right? Where PlayStation's like, our hardware's up, our content services are down. Hardware's up, content and services are down. That's the way it was for a couple years there. Well, guess what? You're not making that much money on just hardware, right? The revenue doesn't equate profit because you're losing money on boxes when you sell them for consoles. So you got to make sure you're selling the games. So anyway, numbers are going to dictate. Numbers always dictate the business, and these companies got to survive. So we'll see. I don't know what will be the first one, but maybe Wolverine. It's already on PC, so why not?
Yeah.
I mean, people have been playing it in beta for a while now.
Which I think you're onto something though too, because it's like they built up a lot of goodwill, and now they're definitely in a point where they need to cash in on the goodwill. And they have been for a while, but people underestimate just the scale of like what they're leaving on the table when there's potentially millions of customers to be reached with these games.
Yeah,
like it's hard to pass that up if you're trying to push that bottom line.
You know, would it suck if like you could only watch Sony movies on a PlayStation hardware or PlayStation console, or like if you could only listen to Sony music on a PlayStation console, you know, from their artists? Think about that. Nobody asked for that. Like, why? Oh, that would make the box more special. You know, they have this entertainment box with only Sony stuff. It's like, hey, none of the artists or movies could ever be anywhere else besides on the PlayStation hardware.
We made a Walkman the size of your briefcase.
While we start gatekeeping that stuff too, you know, I agree it adds value, but it's a perceived value. It's not like it's an artificially gatekept value there. It's not actually, the hardware is not better because of it. It's just that there's more options because they take options away from everybody else. Like, it's artificial. That's the way exclusivity's been in gaming for a long time. I personally one day wouldn't mind if that just didn't exist, period. But we'll see. Are we ready for tidbits, Fuzz?
Let's go.
Like another minute.
Okay, well, hey everybody. While Fuzzy's finishing this up, this is going to be the last segment we have on Fun Speculation Podcast, and it's called This is Tidbits, the segment where we look ahead at the games releasing for the week. And before I forget, I had missed this earlier, but choo choo, motherfucker.
Choo choo, choo choo. Ha 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 ha.
Thank you to Spartan661 for re-upping and joining again the speculator train. I see you in the green, bro. Appreciate you so much, dude. All right, let's get into some tidbits, guys. I asked Fuzzy to go ahead and include something else on tidbits this week as well.
Yeah.
Because it was just too good.
It'll be at the end.
Right on.
All right. First one is going to be Lifeless Moon.
What is this place?
America.
Yes. This Tuesday for $12.99.
Oh, this looks like your kind of game, Jasper. What do you mean the only one you care about is Once Human? Look at this.
Oh yeah, Once Human is gonna be sick.
It's pretty much as you at work.
Yeah. As your future in the Space Force, Jasper.
I hope you survive.
Looks interesting.
Yeah.
All right. The next one
Perhaps
is Once
humans
Human.
were fated to build
That
the
one's only on
monoliths,
PC at the moment.
reaching
Coming
heaven
this
and
Tuesday.
returning with a
It's a
gift.
free to play.
Stardust.
I don't know if they're going to have in-app purchases.
But
I'm assuming they're going to have
mankind is
in-app
given more than it
purchases,
wished
but
for.
yeah, free to play. It's
Not
definitely worth a
progress,
shot if you have a PC.
But chaos. Every new height brings
Looks
a terrible
interesting.
fall.
Yeah, I haven't played a ton
And
of
yet
it, but
hope
I
still
have been
glimmers.
in the beta, and it's
Even in the depths
pretty
of the
fun. It's like a
unknown,
survival crafter, but then you also have like crazy enemies
we
and
die
stuff.
to live again.
Is that Olaf walking with you?
It does look like Olaf.
The smallest creatures
You want to build a
show the
snowman?
greatest resilience. Wherever we remain standing, we stand.
Oh yeah, you get
together.
motorcycles too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. Steam and Epic Game Store.
This one's a little bit of a longer clip, but it's finally
My grandfather
coming
tossed a
to the
magazine
Switch.
to me that
It
read,
is Ace Combat 7, Skies
"Unmanned
Unknown.
fighters, no
this
longer
Thursday,
a distant dream.
and I believe the price is going to be
Soon
$59.99.
there will be no
Although
one
some
gripping a
places were
control
showing it
stick
as
and
low as
taking to the skies.
$50.99. So
The Kingdom
For sales, if
of
you
Lugia
can.
has declared war on the Ocean Federation.
Then finally,
Top Gun was
I
one
never
of your
played the
favorite
last
movies?
Ace Combat, but I used to love these games.
Yeah, if Top Gun is a movie of choice, get this game. Maybe not
Yeah,
on
I-
the Switch. I don't know. Well, this is supposedly what it looks like on the Switch, but it looks so much better on either the PS5 or the Series X or S. PC, obviously, if you have it, you can turn the graphics all the way up where it looks like a
things
movie.
unfold from a
But
distance.
yeah,
Yeah.
not a bad game
I mean,
if you like
who would have
flying
ever
or
thought that I'd
dogfights.
just go and follow him straight into the enemy squadron like that?
He really is foolish, isn't he?
Yep, sure is.
Soul 1, what's your status?
Well, I'm feeling a little excited.
Trigger's taking the beast head on. I see the mark
The
on his
later
tail.
missions do
You
get
defile
kind of
this
difficult.
country. As long as you're here, this country will never know peace.
Yet what is a nation?
But I don't even have a country to call home. I wonder which path you would
I wonder if they
choose.
have the multiplayer on the Switch.
Gargoyle 3 to battle. Ocean fighters do not attack.
Yeah, that's a good question.
These are
Multiplayer was
drones.
fun.
It just looks like people are flying. Shit, I mean, why are we being made to do this?
Yeah, I know. I'm heading into hell. Whatever. Adios, you damn fool.
You might be wondering how I got here.
Adjusting angle. Go! Aim for the one with 3 strikes. Thunderbolt, don't feed. Fire all remaining weaponry at 3 strikes. Fire! Hit!
Yeah, you can see the Switch graphics coming through on some of these clips.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad though. Like it looks like playable.
What kept the world relatively sane?
I just would never choose to play this kind of game on the Switch.
But now,
Right.
because we're gone.
Yeah, it probably looks a little bit like Star Fox.
You know what'll happen if things go south.
That Switch for me is like Vampire Survivors, Pilantro, you know.
All aircraft, form up on trigger. Nice and
I
tight.
played this one in the Series X. I think I bought this.
Stick with trigger and you'll make it.
I think this game came out when the Xbox One X was still
Yeah.
top dog.
Yeah. It was like 2018, 2017.
Yeah. I enjoyed it on that console. Enjoyed it even more on the Series X because they definitely did some tweaks to the graphics and the frame rate and everything. But on the Switch, I guess if you want to play on the go,
yeah,
it definitely worthwhile.
Shout out to a couple of the franchises the chat's throwing out there. Roberto Z says Afterburner. Yeah, I used to play that on the Sega back in the day. HNS 1988 says Tom Clancy's Hawks. Yeah, that was awesome. Also,
yeah.
Oh, it was 2019 is when it came out.
This is a Devolver game, right?
Yeah, this one's a unique one. Angerfoot from Devolver Digital, only on PC at the moment. Current price is $24.99, I believe. They don't list it, but that's typically what Devolver charges on like slightly smaller games. But just imagine having, instead of different gear, you focus on your kicks, and you get all kinds of abilities from these different sneakers in the game.
It's got like High on Life vibes.
A little bit.
It definitely looks fun. It's Devolver Digital. Oh no, don't tell me we can't.
Oh, it's rage. Not rage.
Rage restricted.
It's rage restricted. We got with Disney Speedstorm. Is this not? This is like a next one, or?
Yeah, this was the one after Disney Speedstorm. Coming to iOS and Android this Thursday. It's a free-to-play with in-app purchases. The other game was Death Game Hotel.
The VR game?
Yeah, MetaQuest 2 and 3. And that game was priced at $17.99. I guess age restriction stuff won't work.
Yeah,
friends, ex-lovers. Only one of us can stay in heaven.
Next one,
Neon White.
Neon White. I'm looking forward to this one. This is from Anna Turner, I believe. Coming to Xbox One, Series X and S finally. Current price is $29.99, but it's day one when it comes to Xbox in Game Pass. So give it a try.
Yeah.
Definitely worth playing. If you like a fluid platformer, I guess is about the best way to describe it. This might be something right up your alley kind of deal.
I remember when this came out, it was getting some Game of the Year type talk.
Mm-hmm. Now, this next one is
Dross.
Coming to Switch this Friday for $24.99. It's like a cool platformer puzzle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Also on the Switch, they're doing like this trial for Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope right now. And it's going on sale for $14.99, I think, while that trial is going on. Which is you never see that from Nintendo, but you know, this is, I think it's Ubisoft. It's technically a Ubisoft game, so that's probably why. But yeah, I might actually take advantage of that sale because I like the first Mario Rabbids game.
Yeah, I don't think the second one sold as well.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it was an improvement, supposedly an improvement over the first one, but I don't know if it was lack of advertising or something that just didn't get it to move as well.
Yeah.
All right, this last one is special.
Here we go.
This is the trailer for Transformers Overwatch crossover.
This is tomorrow. Oh god, the vibes, dude. Blizzard's fucking amazing with their teams making this shit.
Yeah, the cinematics are always the best.
Feels like they had somebody purposely sit down and either go off of memory or rewatch some of the Gen 1 cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, I would feel like it fits this.
Yeah.
A little bit more of an anime spin to it, but
yeah.
It's gotta feel like Gen 1 cartoon.
It feels like it almost deserves its own mini-series.
Yeah, I want to watch that again. Can we watch that again, Fuzz? Is there a way to go back?
Yeah, let me see. Wait, if I hit play, is it redo it for you guys as well?
Yeah, here we go. I jacked up the audio this time. Even the track they built for this, for the Transformers theme. The Decepticons.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'm strangely excited for this. Like I'm not even an Overwatch player, but just that trailer, just the theme music and like the animation, like which I know is not going to be in the game. It's like I don't even care.
Yeah.
They still hooked me on it. Like just got me out of pure adrenaline and excitement. You know, like fuck, man, that's a trailer, dude. That's how you do a trailer. Like even if the skins aren't like that, like even I know nothing's gonna look like that, but fuck, that's how you do a trailer to get somebody excited for Transformers.
Yeah.
God, I want to see. Can we can we start a petition for the Blizzard team that makes their CG to just start making shows instead? Like
I think that'd be a good use of their time.
It's like the Diablo trailers, like all that shit. Like I just want them to make content for us to watch, bro. Cause could you imagine watching a 30-minute anime like Transformers thing that was that style with the theme and the vibe and music? It would be like one of the most fucking popular things out there right now.
They don't even have to do a full 30 minutes. They could do remember that
like 20 minutes.
I think it was a series on Netflix, like almost like where it was like Netflix had the Love, Robots and War. It was like a short film type of thing where the clips were anywhere from 8 minutes to 15 minutes. Just do a couple of those. Like have a series where it's like 5 of their IPs. Do some shorts. And then like have it where it comes out once every 6 to 9 months kind of thing. I'd be all for that. Partner with Netflix on that one. Got Amazon for the full length TV series, and then for like the CGI shorts. Yeah, with Netflix do like a Love, War and Robots spin off. Xbox or Blizzard IPs only.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'd like to see something, man. Like that team is just so fucking talented. Like everything that they make is just like epic and badass.
Yeah.
All right. It's Calorie asked, what are your thoughts on Transformers 1 coming out this year? Saw the trailer for the first time today. The first time I saw the trailer, I like wanted to throw up, honestly. Well, I went to take my daughter to see Inside Out 2, and then they had a new trailer there that was like a longer one, and it was a little bit more promising. Just because it's Transformers, I want to see it to see what they do. But bro, like this is like the whiny kids version of Transformers, where you see Optimus Prime talking like a teenager almost, like in ways and stuff. Like I don't want to see that shit. I don't know. Can we just get like some badass Gen 1 style brought to new era live Transformers? And
like the original cartoon movie. Like
yeah.
I remember slightly being traumatized at, spoilers, obviously Prime didn't make it at the end kind of thing, but like that movie was shocking. Like it looked as good, if not better, than the cartoon that I would watch almost daily. And just the action and the way they scripted it, that was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Do another one of those style. Same art style, everything. Modern story. Maybe it's the later or the Gen 2 or 3 Transformers or whatever, but do something like that. That was golden. Even if it scares some of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I say go that route.
HNS says, what game would you want developers to make to be the ultimate game that you would want? Well, if I'm talking Transformers, I'm actually gonna kind of go. I'm gonna go to FromSoft. I want From Software to make a Transformers game. They've proven they can do mechs in different ways. Chrome Hounds is like a more slow moving, like strategical, build your own kind of mech and test it out kind of game. Armored Core is like faster paced, action based gameplay. I would like kind of like a blend of that kind of with Transformers, and to where you also have a focus on vehicles and stuff like that, brought into some kind of action game with a cool story. There's a million things I would like to see. I could also see like doing some kind of badass RTS Transformers universe with heroes. You have your heroes and you have your basic units, because you could have jets and vehicles. It just makes sense to have different, that you could have mechanics where they could transform into the robot counterparts, and you have like different abilities and stuff that you and technologies you advance them with. You could have Insecticons, Dinobots, Decepticons, Autobots, as factions.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that. If you're going beyond that, Ninja Turtles is another franchise that I think has been underutilized in gaming and not really done right. You kind of have some cool ideas out there, but there's never really big budget enough or executed really well. My dream Ninja Turtles game would have been like a Rocksteady Arkham themed, like dark, gritty, set in like that 90s era movie. Like take the vibe from the first movie, the first Ninja Turtles movie, kind of capture that with the setting, kind of a little bit grittier, darker tone to it, and then put it in like a video game format. That's what I would want in a city. Co-op, obviously, right, as an option, would be badass as well. So those are just a couple examples. Also want a Thundercats game, but I don't know how that. I like for Thundercats, I want to keep like an animated style for it somehow. Like there was a trailer for a game we saw recently. Oh god, you remember the trailer we saw? This was at I think a Summer Game Fest, and it was a RTS that was like a really toned down RTS, but it had this like 80s cartoon anime action style trailer before it. That style for that trailer was amazing, and then they showed the game as kind of assy or whatever, but like what they showed for that trailer, I want a game that looks like that, set in like Thundercats universe or whatever. Anyway, those are my ideas off the top of my head, but guys, this was a fun show, and thanks for being here. Bob, make sure everybody knows where to find you and your streams and everything you got going on, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always. It's good to get back in and chat with you guys. I need to make some time to spend more time with you here, whether it's on Mondays or Fridays. Always a good time. And thanks to chat for having me. But You can find me as Game Pass Dad here on YouTube, working on getting back into. I've been saying it for a while, but I will be making more videos. I've been posting more shorts again this week. I'm getting back in the swing of things, but you can find me also on Twitch, where I'm usually streaming Wednesdays and weekends, mostly just like Sundays lately, but depends on my stand-up comedy schedule. Or also just Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you can stay up to date on everything else I have going on and can find my other stuff there. So appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure. And yeah, thank you, Fuzz and Mav, for a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you. And what about you, Fuzzy?
Always awesome being on here with you guys. Always love when we have Game Pass Dad on here. And this was a good one, and some good games in the mix as well, and some stuff to look forward to. Like I said, not the Overwatch player, but this will at least make me try it. So looking forward to the Transformers crossover. But those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. Also find me on Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday on Double Barrel Gaming. And then before Xbox Ultimate, it'll be the world premiere of me and my wife's podcast. It'll be Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. It's going to be horror themed. We're going to have some special guests, rotating panel, but the focus will be on horror, whether it's zombies, slashers, paranormal, supernatural, all the favorite horror movies that you've enjoyed growing up or even enjoy watching today. We're going to be talking about them. And, be on Twitter, and I'll post more info as far as the time, but be expecting it on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And after that show, or shortly after that show, we'll be right back here on this channel for Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there as well. Thanks again.
All right, man. Appreciate you. And everybody, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate everybody who shows up for any of our shows, watches any of our content, whether you watch live here or if you listen later on audio platforms. If you do listen on audio, you leave a review. It greatly helps people find us. And for all the YouTube people, hey, like button, share, subscribe, notification bell, all that greatly helps. Chat, you guys are always amazing and a huge part of our show whenever you're chiming in and giving us your thoughts during the content and stuff. So appreciate that. We'll be back for PM in the PM this week at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Pong Soul and I, and an Xbox Ultimate podcast on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be the first week we've had a full slate of regular shows in a while. So I appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you all have a good one. Peace out. Bye-bye.